2008. We're at the home of James Bigham in Glen Haven, Colorado. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. Thanks, James, for participating in this project. Let's start out, if we could. If you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you were born, a little bit about your family.
Yeah, I was born in Muncie, Kansas, Wyandotte County, and I was born in 1923. And my folks were truck gardeners, had a small acreage, and of course I was raised up in a time when times weren't too good. But we never went hungry for anything. We always had plenty to eat. We had a good, good father and mother, and a good early training.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had two brothers, and I have a younger brother now that's still alive, lives in Cleveland, Ohio, and I have an older brother who passed away in 1989. Okay. But my health is still good. I still think I'm doing very good. I've had some heart problems along, but well, in fact, I had a four-way bypass and a bad heart attack. But I get along real good.
Well, good. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing prior to entering the service.
Well, actually, I had an office job with my uncle was superintendent of the Simon Shield Tice Grain Company in Kansas City, and I had a job with him for a while. Of course, when the war got started, why, I was anxious to get in. I thought I would be in there.
Do you remember where you were and what you were thinking when you heard Pearl Harbor was bombed?
Well, I remember the exact day that Roosevelt talked over the radio and said they had been bombed by Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, and the next thing you know, we had declared war on. And it wasn't too many days later Germany declared war on the United States. But I remember all of that very well.
Yeah. How much longer after that before you entered the service?
Actually, from the Pearl Harbor Day which was November the 10th of 41, I went in the service of November the 11th in 1942.
November the 11th of 42?
Yeah.
Now, did you enlist, or did you, were you...
I was a month away from being drafted.
Okay.
And I thought if I went ahead, I could choose my service, which I decided. My dad was a foot soldier in World War I, and he advised me, he said, hey, as well as you like to sleep, you better, if you can get a dry bed with the Navy, you better take it. He said, you don't want to be a foot soldier. And that's what I decided, Actually, how I come to be in the Armed Guard was quite an accident, I guess. I did do well in boot training as far as using the flags and Morse code, but I had to have further training at Champaign, Illinois, and went on to be a signalman in a gun crew aboard the Liberty ships.
Okay.
And that was a good duty. I and another mate took all the signals, lights, and flags, and code. But I don't think I can do any of them today.
Is that right? Yeah.
Got the ball.
Now, when you enlisted, did you enlist alone, or did buddies go with you, or how'd that work out?
Two buddies that enlisted at the same time, and we all ended up different ways or different branches. Actually, I had one of my buddies did end up in he actually served with the merchant marines rather than with the Navy on the merchant ships. And then I had another good friend who was still alive that served in the Air Corps. He got in with the Air Corps. But my one main friend and buddy, lifelong, is still living, and I communicate once in a while with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one that went in the merchants was, he died not terribly long ago.
Okay.
So we kind of have lost contact on some of them.
So you went from Kansas to Illinois for your boot camp?
Yeah,
Or? Okay.
yes, I did. Yeah, went right up the lakes, and I have to say that it was pretty well unorganized. It was in the winter, of course. I went up in November, and we had winter in Chicago, and the barracks, just water come right for showers, come right out of the lakes. There's no hot weather ones at all. and we had to take pretty good care of our long underwear. It was a thing that we would take exercise in the morning and in the hound, and we got out at 5 o'clock and exercised behind the barracks, and you could hardly stand up, let alone the snow got so packed down. And I don't know how they expected us to exercise. It was something else.
And then where did you go from the Great Lake?
Went to Champaign, Illinois, and took further training on my being a signalman. And
now, did you have a choice to become a signalman, or they just tell you you were going to be?
They told me.
Okay.
Yeah, actually it was because we had shown that maybe we had a little bit of lean that where we could adapt to that sort of training, you know, and get it done. And I had learned pretty quick with the flags and code, Morse code. Got on pretty quick with that in boot, and so they went and sent me to this Champaign, Illinois, which was good training. Wasn't very lengthy until we were on board ship.
Where did you board ship at?
Pardon?
Where'd you board ship?
Yes.
Where at?
Actually, my first trip was out of New York Harbor. We were sent to North Africa, the Lake of Bizerta. Actually, we were part of the invasion force of Sicily. So ended up that they run our ship aground in that lake. The docks had been heavily bombed, and there were ships sunk where you couldn't get close to the docks, and they unloaded us by barge. After 23 days of being run aground, was half the invasion force for Sicily came into the Lake of Bizerta, and half stayed down at Algiers. And that was quite an experience to go through.
Let me back up and ask you. I've heard so many stories about it. How was your first crossing across the Atlantic? Particularly, here's a farm boy from Kansas. Did you get your sea legs, and how was that experience?
Well, I got sick on the first day I was on board. Right in New York Harbor, just sitting there rocking. I was supposed to do some typing for the lieutenant, and I got into his office and started to do a little typing, and that thing got to move on me, and I got sicker than didn't think they all laughed at me, but I did. But that's the first time I ever actually had to vomit. But I can honestly say that I ever felt good during a storm. I mean, it's a rough, terrifying experience.
Yeah.
If you have bad weather. But our first trip over was very mild. Never had any problems with the weather until we actually got to the lake.
Any problems with or worries about submarines with your crossing?
Well, we had depth charges, and they were amongst us. But so happened we never lost any. That we had destroyers with depth charges, and they used them. There were plenty of that trip over.
What were conditions like on the ship as far as sleeping arrangements, eat the food, what you do on your with your free time to for
Well,
entertainment?
actually, it was the food was very good. Uh, Actually, the merchant crew had their own mess hall, and we had ours. And they were quite small. It's nothing, we could put the whole crew in at once. But the food was excellent, and actually, time off from being on watch was just a matter of we played cards most of the time, and that's about what we done.
Yeah.
But we did have, being a signalman, I had 8-hour watches every other 8 hours. My mate would take over, but every 8 hours we were on duty. So that was the gun crew was. We had a forecastle, 6 of us to a room, bunk beds, and we each had a locker. And quite small, I'll tell you, it is very small. But we were midship, and on the port side, or starboard side, I should say. I'm sorry, and. Actually, we really got along very well with, 6 guys in a small cratered area. They, of course, they had their watch, and we had ours. I mean, they had to be on the gun turrets, especially if there was any alert at all. But we really, as a whole, had good duty on the ship. Was I can't say anything but good about the chow that we had. We had good food, and most of the time it was once or twice we did run short, but we could pick up if we were over. Oh, in the Mediterranean or wherever we might pick up additional supplies.
So your first trip, you said you went to Algiers and then over to Sicily. Is that?
Well, I never got to Sicily.
Oh, okay.
The invasion force went there, but being that they run us aground, we stayed aground for 23 days. And, well, before half the fleet got out of there, we were under attack very heavily. German Ju-88s. They only had short distance to come from. They could come right down out of Sicily, and it was only 100 miles over there, so it was easy access. And you talk about firepower. Well, you never seen anything like it. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
What's it like? Can you explain what it's like for someone like myself that's never been in battle and being attacked? What were you feeling? I mean.
Well, naturally you do some praying.
Yeah.
I'll tell you do. And we, of course, had 20mm guns just off the bridge on either side. And that's where I stayed, and I helped supply the ammunition. And we did a lot of firepower, I'll tell you. And unbelievable. The planes would come over and dropped parachute flares and it lights you up and it would just hang over you. And try as they may, they didn't hit us.
Is that right?
Unbelievable pattern around us. In fact, they came so close that being aground, now I'd say we drove us out of the water, but I'm saying that it lifted that ship up
Oh, jeez.
from the patterns that was pouring around us. And actually, before we went out of there, we had permission to put 3 black swastikas on the stack of our ship. We had shot down 3 planes.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did hear how many planes were shot down, but I know that we had 3 of them, and no credit for them. But the invasion force actually, as I've heard, Sicily was not an easy task. I mean, they had pretty tough going on going into Sicily. But the funny part of it was, being aground, they, of course, we were loaded with explosives, and we had to put up a red flag. So anything that was left in there moved away from us. And they couldn't figure out what the dickens our ship was sitting there and wouldn't move.
Well, that must have been, once again, stressful too. I mean, you were more or less sitting on a powder keg then.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yeah. You got highly, had explosives on it.
Is that something that played in your mind at all? Is it something you thought about? And
Well, yeah. After we seen what could happen, but really during our course of other trips, we had TNT and gun cotton, which is even more. It's nothing but concussion will set that off. And we had one trip. We made a poison gas. They took it out of Norfolk, Virginia.
Well, let's back up then. Let's from once you were aground there. Once they pulled you out, where'd you go from there? And
Well, we went back home.
oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, we went back.
Well, how many crossings did you make altogether? Do you remember?
You know, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I cannot remember.
Quite a few, though?
We never had a log. We weren't supposed to keep a log. And
Yeah.
to tell you, I can tell you where I've been, but I
Yeah.
can't tell you the secession of them or
Yeah.
anyways near the dates.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just curious. But you made multiple crossings and across the Atlantic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next trip I made that same winter was to Cardiff, Wales, and the North Atlantic there. We had to go quite a ways up, and had a successful trip over. But I got to see a lot of things. I got to go into London, and I did. That's the only time I ever pulled shore patrol duty, but they were having trouble with the colored dating the English girls.
Oh,
They
right.
didn't like, the white boys didn't like that a bit. So I did have to pull shore patrol when I was in Cardiff, along with another mate. But the trip back was the main one. It was bad.
Oh, is that right?
Real bad luck. We had a convoy 23, and I don't remember how many days we were out. Not too many, 3 or 4 days out, and a storm hit us, and a bad one. And 2 ships broke in 2, and we were able to, that thing lasted 3 days. We were able to, finally we had, instead of continuing to bucket, we had to turn tail, which is very dangerous. That way you can break into easily. But we had to do it, and that was a terrible, terrifying experience. It was an awful storm. But when we got in, we had damage enough to our ship that they put steel plates around our hulls and welded them.
Well, wasn't there? What were your thoughts on this? I'd heard that a lot of these Liberty ships were built so fast that they were built fairly poorly. Did you find that to be the case, or?
Well, actually, after I got home, I read an article one time about Kaiser and how the old-time shipbuilders always riveted the hull. But he says, hey, we don't have time for that. We're going to weld them. We can't afford to take time to rivet them. And he said, it doesn't make any difference. He said, they may not make it halfway across anyway, so what's the difference?
Is that?
And that was a statement he made,
Wow.
which was true. I mean, as many ships were lost in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean, as far as that goes. Terrifying number of them.
Mm. Yeah, it must have been terrifying because, particularly the North Atlantic, if the ship went down or you fell overboard, you were finished. There was no way you were going to survive that.
There was no survivors whatsoever. Those two ships that went down.
Hmm.
But we bucked that thing until we couldn't do it any longer, and that captain never left that bridge for 3 days and 3 nights, and I mean, he was beat. I mean, just absolutely beat. But that was the worst storm we had. We had one other one, not far off the coast of Gibraltar. But this one in the North Atlantic was mean.
Hmm.
And I don't know how many ships they done with that. I suppose that most of them that had made that run had that heavy steel plates welded around the hole themselves, so that it helped some. Because we had damage to ours.
Hmm.
And they went ahead and did that. But after that, we hadn't had any. That was the worst we had. We did have, like I say, the one off of Gibraltar one time, and then, oh, I don't know how much later it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's a terrifying experience.
Oh boy. How when you would take supplies over on your run back, would you run back empty, or what would?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
However, there were times when we would use maybe a damaged tank or something like that, or stuff that could be maybe redone and as ballast. But we did have 2 trips that we brought the German prisoners back.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Did,
We had one trip that we had SS soldiers aboard.
oh
An
boy.
arrogant bunch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Would you have much interaction with these prisoners, or?
oh yeah, well sure, we went out on that, and I gotta say, there was something else they couldn't believe when they got into New York. They thought everything was going to be bombed and torn down. You know, they said, hey, this can't be, because they had fed them all sorts of
Yeah.
propaganda. You know.
Yeah. Right.
But they're the average soldier, but the SS troops was really arrogant bunch, I'll tell you.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's something else.
Hmm.
But we did capture them, some of them, and brought them home. Where they ended up, I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, did you have a home base in the States that you would go back and forth to, or was it always somewhere
No.
different, or?
There were times, most of the time, we did hit New York, but we would go into Baltimore, we'd go into Norfolk, we'd go into New Orleans, and it just depended, you know. I know that there was one time which I thought we were going to go on the invasion of Normandy. They tied our ships stem to stern in New York Harbor. The idea was that they wanted to stop the breakwaters if they could and get in smaller ships in behind them, just to experiment, see how it worked. And we lived there for, I wouldn't doubt what, we was a couple of weeks in that. And we played cards and smoked cigarettes, cigars. But they pulled us out, and if I'm not mistaken, they sent us to Calcutta, India.
Is that right?
Yeah. I don't remember it for sure, but I missed every invasion there was.
Is that right?
In southern France, and nothing. Didn't hit them on any of them.
What pathway would you have taken to India? Did you go through the canal or that way?
Went through the Mediterranean, down to the
Suez Canal?
yeah, Suez and the Red Sea, and out into the Indian Ocean. That old Indian Ocean is a big place too.
Wow.
And Calcutta, that was a long trip. We were 50 days, 55 days, I remember that, before we could get off.
Jeez.
We had to get up into the Hooghly River, and the darn tide wouldn't bring in enough water for us to get up there. But we finally did get up in there, and what an experience to be at the city of Calcutta.
Well, that's one of my questions here. We've got this farm boy from Kansas that you probably didn't travel, I wouldn't imagine, growing up too far away from that area. Talk about, through the eyes of a Kansas farm boy, some of these places you'd gone to. You talked about London, Algiers, India.
Cairo.
Cairo. Oh boy, that's.
Of course, I was in Naples and France, all along two coasts of Marseille and Sète in France, and Italy. I was in Naples, and Pompeii. I got to visit Pompeii. That's a very interesting place to visit. Yeah, my trip out to the Philippines was a long one, and there was no docks there whatsoever. They unloaded by barge, and of course the time we got out there, the war was over, but Japan, and I would imagine we had tanks and big guns that would go aboard, and I would imagine they just dumped them in the sea out there. I don't know.
Well, being away like that at sea, for 55 days and such, how was communications back home? Were you able to get mail? And I mean, what was that like? And,
No.
or news about how the war?
Well, mail was very, very poor. I mean, we might, once we get back in, we might have, a mail that way. Back in, say we got back into New York or some, along the coast. But it was real slow to get, and of course, our word at sea, when we were at sea, we was at sea.
I'll be darned. How about news, such as how the war was going, or
that's one thing. World War II was so different than what this war is. The media lets you know everything that's going on, and here they kept it on. They kept it down. I mean, I don't know what the average, that is, the public would have done had they known the truth.
Yeah.
Because the winter of '44, I think we're awfully close to losing the war with Europe. They're going up the boot, and that was a bad, bad time for the soldiers.
Yeah.
And of course, in '44 was when we had one of the worst disasters of all the merchant ships, and all during the war. We were off, or did I tell you this?
No.
We were off the coast of Algiers in a convoy of, I think, 23. And torpedo bombers come down out of southern France. It was in the evening. We were 30 miles off the coast of Algiers. And our ship, the Leslie M. Shaw and the Jeremiah Paul, I'll think the name of it.
Yeah, that's not important.
We're sailing just on our leeward side, and torpedoes hit. They sank 3 ships, the Paul Hamilton and USS Lansdale and another cargo ship. 2 of them made it into Algiers. The bad part about this one was the Hamilton was carrying in their 4th hole explosives, and they had 504 air corpsmen aboard. First trip over. There were 27 armed guard. There was 47 merchantmen. And when that plane, the explosive was, well, I thought we were hit.
Hmm.
And it was just in the vault and a ball of smoke that you couldn't see the plane, to see the ship at all. And of course, it evidently sank in seconds. There was no survivors at all. That should have never happened. It's possible that they could have been hit without hitting the explosives. They might have survived, some of them. But there was no chance to. We never even attempted to stop. We just went into a zigzag pattern and went on. Never looked back.
Hmm.
Only thing you could see was that ship was just completely. We were so close. It sprayed our ship with oil.
Wow.
That's how close we were.
Yeah.
What made them pick that ship, I'll never know. I don't know how that happened. They could have hit us just as well, but for some reason they picked that trip ship.
Hmm.
And that's a big question, but that's something that's never come out. However, it is in the internet today. But during the war, it never come out.
Yeah, right, sure. Did they pass on big news? Do you remember, were you at sea, or do you remember where you were when you heard such things as when President Roosevelt died, or VE Day, or VJ Day? Did they get that kind of information to you at all, or?
Well, no, we just hardly knew anything other than what went on with their own convoy. I tell you, there was no. Well, we do the communication and letting us know when anything was going on. We just didn't know.
Hmm.
In fact, I wrote up what happened to us during the war. And when I first, they wanted me to, the VA asked me to do it. And I wrote this thing up that this was not in April, but was in June. Now, I was that far off on the doggone time. I didn't even have any idea. We had no calendars. We had no idea what time, where it was.
Yeah, right.
And I had actually thought that was June. Well, it turned out it was April.
Yeah, I'll be darned. Did you ever talk to your folks about that? They must have been concerned about you not hearing from you for months on end. Did they ever?
Absolutely they were.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And those long trips, and of course I would write when I got in, and they were always glad to hear, and like that. But stuff going. That's the reason I hate it so bad that they have not reenacted the draft today. Give these National Guard boys some relief. sending them back over there 3 and 4 trips. Now that's wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're paying for it too.
yeah.
Stress syndrome. Uh, well, we didn't even know what it was, and I know I had the darn thing. I had it for 2 years, and I come back. Nightmares, and I mean, boy, I mean, everything. It was terrible. In fact, when I got married, I was still having them. And my wife used to put her hand on me and stop me. And I had it, but I know that that's the same thing that they warned you today. Is they had them doggone terrorist bombers that blow up their jeeps and everything, and that's a terrifying thing. You can't help but work on them. You can only take so much of that.
Sure. Well, now, in kind of along those same lines with those 2 or 3 tours of duty, with all your trips back and forth, when you get back to the States, did you ever have the opportunity to take a leave and get back to Kansas?
I had once.
Okay.
I got one time, a short leave, and it was the hardest thing I ever done in my whole life is to go back.
Oh, is that right?
Oh man, it killed me. I mean, the first trip over, hey, that was big deal, but I knew what could happen.
Yeah.
And that was tough going. But they did give me a short leave once, and I got back home, and boy, I'll tell you, to go back, I thought, man, oh man, oh man. I'll never forget it.
Well, it sounded like, by and large, you pretty much traveled the entire world then, in your time. How long? When did you finally? Were you finally discharged from the service then? How?
I got out in January the 6th, in 1946.
46.
Yeah.
So almost.
But I did get a lot of travel. I mean, I don't know how many times we crossed, or we could go normal. I had an average, not an average, but a good trip over cost from New York to Gibraltar was 23 days. Which is not very fast.
Mm.
But we did have, a lot of the time we had British air, where they have planes on, air carriers.
Okay.
Small, they're small, but they were pretty good protection, really. It wasn't bad at all. They, main protection we had was, sometimes we had cruisers with us, and sometimes, most of the time our protection was the destroyers with their depth charges. And that was the best protection. Yeah. And I've read since that the Germans that served on those submarines, that was a dreaded thing for them to have them depth charges. That was terrifying, I'm sure.
So, where were you discharged?
Actually, we came back after we left Batangas, the Philippines. We come right on back to the canal and back up to New York. I never did figure out why they sent us the long way. When we were in Marseille, we could have gone right on back down to the Suez Canal and down the Red Sea, and been much shorter to get over to the Philippines that way. But the long trip was, we went down, we did stop at Santiago, Cuba, and we did a little stop in Canal.
The Panama Canal?
Yeah. And then we went on out, and wasn't too long. I don't suppose we were over, I think we were 5 or 6 days out, and the war was over with Japan. But we were happy
Yeah.
to have it. And that's the one thing that we were a while, I don't know how long it was, getting back to New York, I don't remember. But I know a lot of the boys said on this trip up to Washington, D.C., they said, well, you know, we have finally come to a time in our life when we actually knew what it was to celebrate getting out. I mean, we come home to flags and some band marching and a real welcome home. And he said a lot of us never, actually, we got back from out at San Diego, from the Philippines, Batangas. He just put us into a Naval Center there in New York and said, well, you're ready to go home. We're through with you. And that was it. Yeah, but this was really a wonderful experience to go through what we did up there.
Yeah, it was. Do you remember when you finally got home, coming home to mom and dad and sleeping in your bed and getting a home cooked meal? Was it? You remember your homecoming?
Yeah, I remember that very well, and that was a wonderful thing. You know, I mean, really and truly, I felt very lucky to get home.
Yeah, yeah.
Very fortunate, I'll tell you. Numerous times that we shouldn't have had that kind of luck, but we did.
Well, how was it? Yeah, you'd mentioned you had nightmares for a number of years, but how was it transitioning from military life back into civilian life? Was that easier or hard for you?
No, it was tough. I tell you, I had this office job before I went in, and I went back to work at the office for, I think it was less than 2 weeks.
Was that right?
And I said, hey, I can't sit there. I can't do it. So I got taken an apprenticeship to be a carpenter, and I worked outside that way, and I got along a lot better that way. But I couldn't sit in that dang office job. It might have been a great opportunity for me. I don't know, but I said, hey, take it. I can't do it.
Yeah. So you went on to have a career as a carpenter?
Yeah, I actually got into where I run my own crew and developed my ground and built homes. And I had a good career, really.
Yeah.
I did. But the whole thing was quite an experience, I'll tell you. You have a lot of different outlooks on things.
Well, that's generally one of the questions I asked towards the end of the interview. How do you feel that period of time, your war experience, how did it play into your life, change your life, affect your life, and how do you...
Well, I thought I was too old to go ahead and go into school, and like I say, I probably messed up a good chance to work with a good company. Was actually my uncle was a what did they call him? He was with Simon Shields' Tice Grain Company. He actually run the elevators, and had a good deal of influence with the firm members themselves, and I could have stayed on and probably had a pretty good job, but that didn't work out for me at all. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, till I got married, I had I had a lot of troubles, you know. I mean, getting adjusted, you know. I just couldn't. But it affects your life, I tell you.
Yeah.
It sure does.
How did how did the nightmares you talked about, they eventually went away or just lessened? Do you still have them to this day at all?
No,
Or
no,
no?
no.
No?
They went away. Uh, Actually, I wasn't married too long until they did go away. I don't know how that happened, but they quit. I quit having them, and oh, when I had them, boy, I tell you what, it was, they was bombing us. They was everything, and I mean, you know, wake up cussing and just holy Ned, you know, and screaming.
Uh,
But that left me after 2 years' time.
of course, back then there was no place to go for help or something like
No.
that, was there? It's just
They-
you had to work it out yourself. Huh?
They never even thought of anything about it. I mean, we had no name for it.
Yeah. Throughout the years, have you kept in touch with any of your shipmates?
Well, for a time I did. I had my buddy that was a signalman with me. He lived up in Nebraska, and I kept in contact with him, and we actually got together. And then we had good friends in Baltimore that he used to be. Well, he was part of the gun crew, and we actually visited with them some. But then eventually that wore out, and we never, I've lost contact anymore. I don't.
Yeah. Has there ever been any reunions with your ship at all?
No,
No.
no,
Were you on the same ship the whole time?
no, no.
Okay.
I was on the Jeremiah S. Black to begin with, and then I can't tell you when, but we got on a Liberty ship. I mean a Victory ship. The Jeremiah Black was a Liberty, and the Leslie M. Shaw was a Victory.
What's the difference between a Liberty and a Victory?
The Victory was a little faster. Not much change in. There wasn't any change in size.
Mm.
It was a faster ship,
Mm.
but the Liberty was pretty darn slow, and the Victory ship was a little faster ship. I don't remember what top speed was now anymore.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's fine.
we never did exercise top speed that I remember of anyway.
Now, when you moved to different ships, did the whole crew move, or did you move just bunches of you, or how did when you transferred?
It so happened that we did take the gun crew moved as a whole. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we're getting towards the end of the interview. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about? That any stories that I missed the boat on and didn't ask you about, or anything you wanted to other?
Oh, I think that getting to see Alexandria and Cairo, actually some of them places are is unbelievable. Their markets, the smell, they use a lot of seafood, you know, and their little fishes, and they stack them up on tables, and the smell is just terrible.
How's that right?
I remember the first trip over, though, we did get off, and from Missouri we went to Tennessee, and that was quite a little jog. But when we got over there was a bread line, and man, that was the best looking bread you ever seen. It was beautiful. So we got in line. I said, we're gonna have some bread. Steak, you never had anything stink so bad.
Is that right?
You couldn't believe how anybody could eat that stuff. Just unbelievable. But like in Calcutta at that time was so many starving. At one time, I could say how many they were figuring a daily dying from starvation. And they would take a flatbed wagon and just go through the streets of morning and pick up the dead and throw them on just like cordwood. Take them, and at one time I knew how many crematories they had. The one that we visited was on the mouth of the Hooghly. They would, of course, stack up pairs of wood, and they would take the body, and the nearest member would take them down to the Hooghly River and dunk them, and then they would take the body and put it back on the pier and set it on fire, and they'd put a little fruit in their mouth, and they'd sit there and burn them and watch them burn up.
I'll be darned.
And I think I remember 75 of them in Calcutta, but I don't remember for sure how many they figured was dying every day. It was a real experience.
Did you ever get a chance after the war to ever travel back to any of these places?
No.
No.
No. I enjoyed my trip to London at that time when it was blackout, and you didn't have any lights. I mean, they blacked them out.
Huh.
They took a terrific beating in London, I'll tell you.
Yeah, right. Was there still quite a bit of damage when you were there?
Bet, you bet. Bad damage. Yeah. Sure was. But I enjoyed that. Got to ride them big double-decker buses, and that was fun. And I think my trip to Pompeii, that is, when Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, that is a very interesting thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was remarkable how even at that time, I mean, that's been a long many years ago, probably 63, 64 years when I was there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they've done an awful lot towards excavating it anymore, but it preserved things so well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. All in all, I had a good trip. I mean, a good tour of duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was ready to get out. I didn't like the water. I got awfully tired of the water.
I'll bet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's get tired of it, man. There was many a time I never learned to swim, and so I slept with my life jacket on many a night at a time.
So that whole tour of duty, you didn't know how to swim? Is that right?
I didn't pass my test at all when I left. We were supposed to we'll be able to swim when we left Champaign, Illinois, but I just sunk like a rock. The old boy reached down and grabbed me when I went down, and he says, "You're ready, boy." He said, "Just keep your life jacket handy."
I'll be darned. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh, well, as we begin to wind down this interview, is there any closing statement you'd like to make, or anything you'd like to tell the people that will see this video?
Well, no, I think that it is a wonderful thing how the public as a whole was behind the World War effort. I mean, it was a united effort, and that we did appreciate, you know. We heard stories about how the rationing was and how everybody was working, women were working welding, and that made it a lot easier, you know. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. It was a united effort, and it was appreciated because really and truly there was not the case of the 16 million that were actually put into service in World War II, because the actual numbers that ever seen combat or direct being under direct attack is not that much.
Right.
But nevertheless, we did appreciate the home front effort.
Did being in war, has it? How has that played into your opinion in the previous wars since then, the Korean, Vietnam, or Gulf War, or present war? Is that?
Well, I'm totally against this last war. Absolutely against it. I think we should never went in there. We had no business going over there. There's no way on earth that we can make them countries into a democracy and make it stick.
Yeah.
We can't afford to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that instead of just staying over there and actually running the chance of running in a much larger war, we need to be home.
Yeah.
That's my thinking.
Yeah.
In other words, we need to be, instead of, we've always been on the offensive, but I think this is one time when we need to come home and be on the defensive and take care of the home front.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't see how in the world that we can afford it to do it any $12 billion a month. I don't see that we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's that's just an opinion.
Okay then. Well, unless there's anything else you'd like to add to the tape,
I enjoyed being interviewed, and I appreciate your effort.
Very good.
I certainly do, and welcome any further things that might develop out of this.
Very good. Well, go ahead.
I have always been a little hesitant about telling everything to the family, but my immediate, they know most of what went on, but the grandchildren and that, they don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they will now. So, well, I want to thank you for sitting down to this interview, but more importantly, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you. Thank you.